some provinces obviously performing better than others, which was another thing that was revealed in the study. Western Cape, Gauteng and Mpumalanga were the best, while Northwest, Limpopo and Eastern Cape were the worst performers. Although you said the Western Cape actually in the past year had a dip.
Yes. So, I mean, this is the usual suspects. We can look, doesn't really matter if we're looking at education or health or even employment. We often find the Western Cape and Gauteng are these kind of positive outlying provinces, and the Eastern Cape and Limpopo are right at the bottom of this of the scale. Some of this has got to do with poverty. A lot of it has got to do with poverty and deprivation. In Limpopo and the Eastern Cape, much higher concentrations of people that don't have jobs, people that are on social grants. These former homelands are concentrated in these provinces, whereas the Western Cape and Gauteng have much more affluent parents that are contributing, more fee-charging schools. So it's not totally unexpected, and we need to take those things into account. But even once they are taken into account, the schools in Limpopo and the Eastern Cape particularly are underperforming. That being said, between 2003 and 2011, the fastest improving provinces were these poorer provinces. So Gauteng was the top province as of 2015 in grade 9, and the Western Cape was the top province at the grade 5 level, and vice versa. One was the second and the other one was the second. So Gauteng and the Western Cape are usually the top two provinces. What was quite strange and perplexing, and we're still trying to understand why it is the case, is that the Western Cape from 2003 to 2015 was the only province to decline its maths and science scores at the grade 9 level. And that was about, not an insignificant amount, about half a year of learning. That grade 9s in 2015, the average grade 9 in 2015 in the Western Cape, knew half a year of learning less than the average grade 9 in 2003. Now, one potential reason for this, which requires more explanation, is the average level of parental education actually went down over that period in the Western Cape, which is very strange. Normally we would expect it to go up, which points to what we think is probably a lot of in-migration into the Western Cape of poorer students that have less educated parents, which would possibly explain some of that decline. So if you've got many poorer students coming into the Western Cape over this period, you're not really comparing the exact same group of students in 2015 as you were in 2003. And we know that there is a lot of in-migration, particularly from the Eastern Cape into the Western Cape, sometimes for the specific reason that the quality of education in the Western Cape is much better. But this does require further analysis, and we don't know the cause of that just yet.
And Nick, finally, nationally, you got the Basic Education Minister being quite positive about this, saying that it's on a sort of steady trajectory. I mean, is that the case in the last few years? I mean, is it, even if it's a slow curve, is it an upward one?
I definitely think I agree with the minister here that this does show quite clear evidence that we are on an improving trajectory. I don't think that the minister is trying to mislead anyone by saying that we are on this upward trajectory. South Africa was the fastest improver between 2003 and 2015. We improved by about 2 years worth of learning as a country between 2003 and 2015. And we really need to hold both of those in tension. The one is we are improving, and there are clear signs of improvement. And the other sign is, but we still have such low level of performance and achievement. And the way that you can kind of account for both of those at the same time is that often you can increase the fastest when you're starting from a very low base. So when you're starting from a space where we can almost hardly measure students' competence because it's so low, it is possible to get up more students to reach this low international benchmark. But as we said, 2/3 of South African grade 9 still aren't reaching this lowest benchmark in maths and science. And that should be our focus. But we should be able to look back and say that things are improving.
Sorry, Nick, just one more question. You were mentioning off air that another study revealed that grade 5 learners have a really high instance of bullying.
Yes.
Which is obviously also affecting their studies.
Yeah. So one of the things that TIMSS does, it's the same study, is they ask background questionnaires. So they ask students about their time at home, their time at school, and they ask 8 questions about being bullied and safety and security and various things, and then they create an index. And on this index, very worryingly, South African grade 5 students reported the highest incidence of being bullied of all the countries that participated. and the exact figures are 44% of grade 5 learners reported being bullied at least once a week. And this is in comparison to even other developing countries like Morocco, where it was 21%, Indonesia, where it was 25%, and a country like America, where it was only 15%. So you have almost half of our grade 5 students that are experiencing being bullied every single week.
By fellow pupils or by teachers as well? Or?
They don't distinguish
That's
between
specified.
those, but this is, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the framing of the question is by other students.
Okay.
So I mean, this is extremely worrying and points to other evidence which we know that there is this kind of almost pandemic of bullying that we've had in South Africa for the longest time and really does need to get addressed.
Okay. Right, Nick, thank you very much for your insight today.
Thanks for having me.